All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. Going to be breaking down this Monday night showdown between the Carolina Panthers and the San Francisco 49ers. As we can see, this is projected to be a pretty high-scoring game at 49.5 total points. Looking at the point spread, we are seeing that the Niners are going to be about 7.5-point favorites in this game as well. That really will dictate some of the lineups that we can get to, but I do really like the lineups that we are able to make here for Monday Night Football. So with that, let's go ahead and break down the slate. So let's start off here with the Panthers, and we'll start off with Rico Dowdle. So Rico Dowdle does get an interesting game here against the Niners. The Niners give up a lot of receiving production to opposing running backs, and the thing that gets me kind of excited about Dowdle as a play is the fact that the Panthers were able to get him going, catching the ball in the backfield against the Atlanta Falcons that have been a very sharp defense, right? He was able to get 5 receptions on 7 targets for 55 receiving yards. We've seen in other games where he rushed the football a bunch, like against the Green Bay Packers. And so, ended up with 25 rush yards in that game. We see the first 2 games, 30 and 23. So the thing that I like about that is that they are finding the weakness in the defense and exploiting that with Rico Dowdle. And so that does get me encouraged to use him as well. If we look at some of his projections out there for like underdog and prize picks, like prop betting wise, they have him at about 17 for his fantasy score as well. So they're expecting a very big game out of him. So I do really want to try to get to him. He does end up being someone, though, that if we are playing him, I probably am trying to get him in the captain spot, because either he's kind of going to have one of his massive games or he might not be able to pay off that pretty expensive price tag. And the nice thing about maybe potentially not being on him in the captain spot and maybe not in your flex then is that it is easier to stack the game, because the Niners are pretty poor defensively stopping the pass. And so when we look at the pass catchers that we were getting, or just from like a Bryce Young perspective, is they all get a good matchup. And so if you like some of the pass catchers, you're probably going to be playing Bryce Young. Now, what's interesting is they don't give as much production up to opposing quarterbacks. The Niners don't, but they do give up enough. But really the weakness is like receivers and even tight ends, especially receptions wise. They give up a lot of receptions. I do think we want to prioritize getting to at least 2 Carolina Panthers pass catchers in this game for 2 reasons. Again, this is the weakness of the Niners defense, but they're also playing from behind. Likely the Panthers are going to be likely to play from behind. And so obviously we could get to McMillan. McMillan's been a stud thus far this year, guys. Has had a very high target floor as well, which obviously leads to him having a higher floor in DFS. So quite clearly, we do want to begin to him if we can. But Xavier Legette is kind of an interesting kind of more captain only play. We have seen him pop off really twice thus far this season. And then besides that, really not be useful. Now, if he's not having a good game, and I kind of expect Coker to be the one that does have the good game, it would be Jalen Coker that's having the good game here. Coker has had 4 targets in 3 out of the last 4 games, which obviously we like. We need that to be higher though. That being said, he is pretty cheap. If he ends up doing what he has done in 3 out of those 4 games, and I am kind of excluding the Green Bay game, where again, they just ran the football a bunch against the Packers, really killed the time of possession. The Panthers just weren't going to throw the football in that game. So we're excluding that game kind of on purpose because, well, the Niners are expected to win this game by a decent amount. And so if it does end up being more of a pass-heavy script, then I do really, really like Jalen Coker at this price tag. That does seem to be a pricing mistake. On top of that, we are getting kind of some decent value here with the tight ends for the Panthers. Now, it is a guessing game as to which one it's going to be. The tight end that plays the most on passing downs is Sanders here. And so he's going to be the one that makes sense in more of a blowout. And so I do think we want to begin to him. But don't be surprised if Tommy Tremble also has a good game. Like either of them are going to be in play. I don't mind the idea of getting to them. They are a good value option for us on the slate because after that, it does become pretty tight. So I really like the plays that we were able to get to, especially value-wise for the Panthers. And again, we probably are playing Bryce Young. We do want to be getting to at least 2 Panthers pass catchers. So the unfortunate thing about talking about the Niners, guys, is that it is pretty straightforward. Like we clearly want to begin to CMC. It's just obvious. I don't know if I really need to touch on this too much. Sure, his targets were only at 6 in the last game with Ricky Pearsall back, and the Niners are definitely getting healthier, right? And I mean, sure, that might lower his floor a little bit, but they are such heavy favorites in this game. CMC, again, kind of using prop betting lines, they have him at like 22 for his fantasy score. So clearly we want to begin to CMC, and we probably want to be getting to him in the captain spot the most, just because he is projected to really go off and have a good game. Now, the player that I've struggled to get to is going to be Brock Purdy, who again does project to get right around 20. for his fantasy score on some of those prop betting sites. Now, if we look at kind of just the overall projections, about 18 for him, that might not end up being enough. We probably do need him to go for a little bit more than that. And he is extreme chalk as it currently sits right now, which I do find interesting because I don't see him really as a must play. Just because I kind of like the idea of maybe getting to like George Kittle a little bit more. And again, I do like some of the plays that we're getting for the Panthers. Like George Kittle to me actually makes for one of the better captain plays that we were getting on the site. 2 games in a row now, he's really went off. Obviously 2 touchdowns. We don't expect that. And you would argue, yeah, he's due for a regression game. And maybe if you want to chase like a Ricky Pearsall game, you could end up doing that. I don't mind that idea. It is worth calling out though. The Carolina Panthers do give up a decent amount of receiving yards to opposing tight ends. That is a good matchup to target. Whereas because the weakness is in the running game, teams don't necessarily need to throw the football that much against them. Now, I don't mind the idea of getting to Ricky Pearsall in this game. He actually ended up playing the same amount of snaps as Juwan Jennings. Ricky Pearsall was actually open for a touchdown in that game where Brock Purdy simply missed him. I don't mind the idea of playing one of those two, but they feel like they're priced correctly. If you are playing Brock Purdy, I would suggest getting to one of those two, though. And if you are playing Brock Purdy, this is the tough part. You're playing CMC already because he gets so much work catching the ball in the backfield. You are then playing at least one of George Kittle, Ricky Pearsall, and then Juwan Jennings. It is a very condensed player pool for the Niners that we can get to, but that obviously becomes much more difficult if you are playing Brock Purdy. And the issue with that overall is we don't have like an extreme cheap value where we're just playing them because they're too cheap and they're going to hit value for us. We don't have that on this site. We don't have any sub $1,000 plays that we can get to. So I do want to go ahead and kind of get into what I'm looking at as more of a hand build, not like necessarily cash build, but like a decent upside build. So I like into George Kittle here, guys, in the captain spot. Obviously, CMC is going to be the best captain play, but pricing wise, we are able to fit like another stud in there. The issue that I have with this lineup that I'm making right now is I do like Andy Kittle or Juwan Jennings, but if we are playing that many pass catchers then for the Niners, we need to be getting to Brock Purdy then. Okay, so that becomes a big issue for me on this slate then if we are doing that. Now, we can try to make that work, so we'll put Purdy in there, we'll take Bryce Young out, and then we're getting to Ricky Pearsall. Overall, I think people would actually be pretty satisfied with this lineup. Because if we're playing Purdy in the flex, we are betting on someone like Kittle to go off, and we do want to be getting to an additional pass catcher. Plus, we are just going to be playing CMC. Then we're getting 2 targets that should benefit from a pass-heavy script. So if we're loading up on 4 Niners like this is a build that does end up making a decent amount of sense. Again, though, I really like the value that we were getting for the Panthers. And so I'm very curious to see what the 9-to-5 lineup builder tells us is going to be a good lineup path to go. And so with that, we have it pulled up here, guys. Zoom out a little bit here for you. And let's just kind of run it normal. So we're going to force a QB stack with a pass catcher. We are going to raise up the salary range here. Not too crazy, whatever. And we'll do about 20 lineups and just see what spits out to us. This is early. We'll see what the top lineup is. CMC, Rico, Purdy, Kittle, Juszczyk, and really, so it's really trying to punt. It really wants to fit the studs in there. I don't think we necessarily need to do that. This lineup right here becomes much more appealing to me. McCaffrey, Purdy, Young, Matt Gay. I'm okay getting to Matt Gay. I think we could, I would rather get to Coker, who is in this lineup, but value-wise, I like him a little bit better. And then we are still getting to Sanders there. It really is trying to get to Kyle Juszczyk and Jimmy Horn a bunch. But let's go ahead and kind of take those 2 plays off. And actually, guys, there is one flex play that's being pulled in that I do want to mention. I doubt he's going to get playing time, but just be on the lookout for whether or not Jordan Watkins is active. If he is, he could be appealing. He is someone that did stand out in the preseason. And so just taking some of those players out just to see, more of a floor build, we are kind of just seeing more of the correct combinations as you would come to expect. Let's see, Brock Purdy in the captain spot. We get to George Kittle, Juwan Jennings, which again, I like that. Is this the exact lineup I pretty much made? Pretty much, not exactly, but pretty much a slight pivot to Purdy in the captain instead of Kittle, and then it went to Jennings instead of Ricky Pearsall. I like those 2. Let's see total ownership wise, an extreme chalk lineup. Don't hate this. It's probably going to be the cash lineup for a lot of people. Not terrible there as well. Now, this stuff will all be updating throughout the day, guys. So if you guys want access to that 9-to-5 lineup builder, head on over to 9to5sports.com, get access to that tool and all the tools available on the website for a low monthly cost of $10 a month. Appreciate you guys being here. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.